Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Prophecy Code Lifestyle Podcast. You are blessed again today with Miss AnnMarie, and I'm so excited to have you on again. I loved our last conversation. So much has unfolded since then.
Yeah.
I figured we could touch on that a little bit, but before that, how are you? How are you?
Good.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, good now. Good now. I wasn't a couple weeks ago, but good now, which we'll get into. But yeah, settling into things overall, feeling good. For those who don't know or follow me, because I've been talking about it. I'm pregnant. It was all the plan. I got my strategic plan of when things are happening. And when we officially found out we were pregnant, I'm like, okay, run of the mill, same thing, routine as last time. I'm super healthy. I have no issues, no pre-existing, nothing. So I'm like, whatever. And we go into the ultrasound, which you and I talked about a little bit. And I almost told my husband, don't even come. It's not a big deal because it's just routine. And I'm sitting there and she's swabbing me and doing all the things. And she's like, do twins run in your family? And I'm like, no, no, why? And she's like, well, no, you have twins. So there's that. And so that was crazy. And at
Yeah.
first, to be honest, and we'll talk about this too, about how I'm going to handle it. But at first, I love transparency. I was scared. I was like, this was not supposed to happen like this. I have my little plan, and God said you like a challenge, so let's see what you can really handle this time. And after sitting with it and praying about it and crying about it for like 2 weeks straight and being mad and angry and sad and feeling all the feels, now I feel really good. I feel at peace with it. I feel actually excited about it. And now I'm able to shift the perspective and view it more as like, God specifically picked me for this. This is not a mistake. This is
Mhm.
all in divine timing, pre-planned, exactly how it's supposed to be. And I was created exactly to do this. And so now after taking the time to sit with it, now I'm like, okay, I was built for this. I have no stress about it. I'm ready to go and let's rip the band-aid off. Give me these babies.
Let's do this. What was your husband's response?
He was trying to calm me down while also not crying.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I'll keep it PG, but I leaned back and I said, "What the actual F?" And he just started laughing. And then after the ultrasound tech left, I went up to him and we hugged and we were laughing. And I said, "What are we gonna do?" And I'll never forget this. He said, "Listen, you keep making these plans and you keep saying, like, here's the plan, here's what needs to happen in this certain way." And he's like, this is God's plan. You can't
Mm.
plan God's plan. And I was like, that's not the answer I want.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
but
my goodness.
we're both good now. We were both a little panicky, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I need a new car. I need I don't know, I can't
All the
do this.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I think you had posted this, but two girls.
yeah, yeah. So two girls, two
Yeah.
identical girls. Those who know twins, they're mono die, and so that means they're a little moderate risk. They have one placenta they're sharing, but
Mhm.
they're in their own separate sacs. So they have their own essentially living space for the most part, but they're sharing a placenta, which can come with some issues, but it's all still, if I'm healthy, pretty low risk. We just had to monitor. So,
Right. Right. My goodness. What
yeah.
a game changer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, babies alone are a game changer, but I think it is kind of funny how organized and planned out you are for God or a higher power to say, like, okay,
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
sit down, sit down. Like,
Yeah.
little do you know who's in charge here.
Yep. Exactly. And I was even telling my husband too, I have this thing about flying. For someone who hates flying, I sure do freaking fly a lot, but I don't like flying because I have this control thing, which everyone's
Mm,
a little tick. But I'm
Of
like, I
course.
gotta be in control. I gotta be able to escape. I gotta be able to get off this plane. But when you're there,
Yeah.
it's like you're putting all your control. And so he's like, this is your flight. Like this is your flight, and you ain't getting off,
Yeah.
flight.
Yeah.
But but we're excited. After sitting with it and shifting the perspective, we're super excited. And I believe it or not, as underprepared as I felt when I found out, I now feel like really good about it. I feel really prepared now that I've spoken with like my midwives and I've spoken with my doula and I've spoken with like my support systems, my nanny, my mother, because I'm like, oh my God, who's going to watch all these kids, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
So speaking of like preparing yourself,
yeah.
obviously you hold yourself to standards, expectations, and also as a coach, that's part of our job to hold others to expectations that they have stated, um, and standards that they want to uphold, values, morals, all the things. Do you feel that this has shaped new expectations of self, or you have just readjusted at all for yourself?
I'll be honest, this made me take it even more seriously than I already did. I
Mm,
think it's twofold. Not that, not that moms don't need to be an example for their sons, but I think that naturally sons gravitate towards their father as an example. But the
yeah,
fact that I'm having two daughters almost solidifies that, like, there's no fucking around.
yeah,
Like this is your top priority
mhm,
is to take care of yourself because like we talked about on our last podcast, they're not listening, they're watching. And so even during pregnancy, I mean, this heightens it even more for me to make sure I'm doing my due diligence, make sure that I'm staying healthy. Because as a twin mom, as a pregnant twin woman, your chances of preeclampsia, your chances of high cholesterol, your chances of diabetes, it goes up.
yeah,
Because you have so many more hormones and your blood volume increases so much more and the oxygen levels that you need increase so much more. And so to be honest, it made me take it more seriously, not less.
yeah, yeah. I find that, and we were talking about this prior, but it's interesting that you took that approach. And I think that it's very important to vocalize that because I find more often than not, people will take a change or where there's a bump in the road and they use that as their reason to not uphold their expectations or step up their expectations of self, where they're like, ah, but this happened. And the reality is, like your situation, you don't know what's going to happen and you can't map out everything. So
Right.
there has to be some solidarity in something, right? And to be able to have those standards of self and uphold those standards of self despite anything that happens around you. Obviously, there's extenuating circumstances, but it really, I think, derails a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. And especially, I mean, since we're talking the topic of pregnancy, I mean, my first trimester was a living fucking hell. Like
Yeah.
I was vomiting 5 times a day. I had migraines every single day. The exhaustion and with Jackson, to be honest, I didn't feel that bad. I had like the typical symptoms. I was a little nauseous. I was tired. I had occasional headaches. But with twins and with twin girls, they were sucking the life out of me, and I felt a little stir crazy. And I made a post about this, and I'm like, listen, that doesn't mean I do nothing, though. That means I take the symptoms, I listen to my body, I give my body what it needs. I'm making sure I get my electrolytes in, my water, I'm eating what I can stomach, and making sure I'm prioritizing protein and rest. But that doesn't mean that on the good days, I say, well, I don't really feel the best. I don't feel 100%. So I'm not going to do it. Hell no. On those good days, I was taking full advantage of that. I'm like, I'm getting shit done. I'm going to get
Yeah.
my birth prep done and do my workout and do what I can in the season without using that as like not even necessarily an excuse, but a reason not to show up versus the good days should be even more of a reason to get to work and to show up.
Right. I feel it does come down to comfort too, right? Like whenever we have an opportunity to be in more comfort, I feel like we're like, ooh, slide me in. Like, I don't have to do this. You mean like I can get out of that meeting or I can get out of that workout, or I feel that we are drawn to that. Like biologically, I think that we're all drawn to that anyways as humans. I think that we want to have comfort around us, but then what we don't realize is that sometimes that comfort digs us in a really big hole, and then it becomes more chaotic to operate in the world around us. So when you have those standards that you can keep to, and you take advantage of those good days, and you have the non-negotiables that you're like, come hell or high water, I will drink water. Like
Yes.
I'll go drink my water. Like that, if that's all I can do, at least I'm showing up for myself in some capacity or another. Once you realize the importance of that and the value of that, I think it does become easier, but you have to do it. Like you have
Yeah.
to be able to prove it to yourself.
And I think identifying, I'm glad that you said that because it's identifying what your floor standards are and what your ceiling standards are. To where, like, ceiling is the day where you're operating 100% capacity. You're like
Yeah.
on one. Like, you wake up, you feel good, and all day you're like, I'm fucking crushing it today. You're not going to have a lot of those days. Normally, not
Right.
even pregnancy, but normal life. You're not going to have a lot of those days. You're going to live somewhere regularly in between, but
Hmm.
you always have to have your floor standards. I think
Hmm.
the biggest problem is a majority of people don't have their floor standards. They don't know what that looks like. And in different seasons, it's going to look differently. Like
Right.
when I'm not pregnant, my floor standard is minimum 4 days a week. I get my ass up in the morning, whether I like it or not, before my toddler wakes up. I get my workout in, I do my water, I make sure I get my protein, and I make sure I do my mental health practices, is the floor. But first trimester, was I going to wake up at 4 a.m. every day when I already felt like I was dying? No. So the floor needed to change. Water, supplements, protein, at least go for a walk and do birth prep.
Mm.
That's so it's like it's gonna change in the season, but you have to identify the floor because if you don't at least have your floor routines and standards, when shit hits the fan, when life is lifing, death, illness, pregnancy,
Right.
kids getting sick, something happens to your job, when those things inevitably happen, you have nothing. And
Right.
you, again, like you said, you fall back into the comfort and you are the first thing that gets neglected.
Right. Yeah. I also think it's good to have those floor standards to make sure you don't fall victim to too high of expectations that you put on yourself. So then you start to talk really negatively about yourself because you didn't hit your ceiling standards, right? You should have baseline, and your baselines should be pretty easy to navigate, relatively speaking. And you have to be able to shift given the environment around you. But without that baseline, I think that we do fall victim to, well, I can't be 100%, so fuck it all, right? Like, I won't do it all. I love when my clients are riding a 7 to 9 all the time out of like a 10, because that means like they're showing up for themselves irregardless in some capacity, right? I don't want them to be perfect, actually. Sometimes they give me a 10. I'm like, yes, girl, like you did it. But I can also really celebrate the 7 too, because it means it probably was tricky. There was probably some trickiness in that week, and they still did it. They didn't give me a 0. They gave me a 7. That's beautiful. How are you able, I guess, is that a conversation with yourself? Because I'm sure listeners probably want to know too. How are you able to set those floor standards for yourself? Is that a conversation that you have? Is it just by nature you fall into that pivot? Or is it actually writing it down? Is it verbalizing it? Like what is it that helps you to set them initially and then to be able to reset as needed?
Yeah, and I think that it was harder for me the first time that I
Mhm.
got pregnant to shift the standards because when I got pregnant with Jackson, I was like a month post show. So I was like a month and a half, maybe 2 months max, post the best package I've ever brought to the stage. Doing 2 hours of cardio 7 days a week, tracking every morsel that enters my mouth and weighing every single thing that enters my body. I went from an extreme to now I got to give myself a little bit of grace because I don't feel my best and I can't
Yeah.
consume 800 milligrams of caffeine every day. I
Right, right.
you can't biohack your way out of first trimester.
Yes,
It's like
yes.
you do the best you can with what you got. But yeah, so I would say the first time around was really freaking hard for me mentally because again, I did have that expectation. My
Mhm.
floor was like normal people's ceiling at that time.
Yeah.
And so to be honest, I do a lot. I know some people think it's a little woo-woo. I do a lot of like meditation. I do a lot of sitting with myself and like having that conversation. And I think people think meditation is sit in silence and woo-saw and you're like, no, this is my meditation. I pop headphones on, I turn on some Jesus music and I clean my house. That's me
Mm,
meditating. It's
yeah,
mindless. I'm able to connect with my faith. And for those who aren't big, like in their faith, don't feel like this is like, oh, well, that doesn't
yeah,
apply to me. Everyone believes in something. So, like, whatever you believe in, listening to this, that is your connection. You have to believe in something or you'll fall for anything. I truly do believe that. But I pop headphones on, listen to me and Jesus, me and my homeboy, and I get to clean in and have the conversation. I cry it out. I get angry. I
Mhm.
feel all the feels. And when I sit with it, then I can process it more. People are so quick to just go, yeah, that happened, and move on, and they never feel it. And they don't realize subconsciously, you still feel the guilt. You
Right.
still feel the shame. All day long, subconsciously, you're still talking shit to yourself all day long, and you don't even realize it. And that's why you keep self-sabotaging. And so, the biggest advice I can give to anybody trying to process a big event, trying to process the inevitable, a death in the family or disease or illness or what a big life thing happening and you're having a hard time shifting the floor and the ceiling.
Yeah.
Um, sit with it. Sit with it. Think about it. Meditate it. Cry on it. Feel the feels because you can either feel a feeling for 5 minutes or 5 years. It just depends on when you're willing to actually sit and process it and get a little
Right.
uncomfortable, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of the times my clients visualize, and this can be, I guess, meditative in nature too, but their kindest, most compassionate, reasonable, logical, but hard ass self
Yeah.
coming out of them as a separate entity, sitting across the table and having a conversation with yourself that might be struggling, right? What would that person say? And what would that person desire for you? How would that person want you to show up for that self? Um, Being able to kind of understand that that person is inside of us and we still have that person despite the emotional distress that may come our way or little hiccups of life or pregnancy, death, anything, you name it, we're able to always tap into that self. And I like that visualization. I use it a lot with individuals who also are trying to break patterns and habits that just aren't serving them well. So I'll say, like, your higher self just peeked around the corner, is like, hey, asshole, what are you doing over there? Like, what you got going on? Just to make sure that they know at the end of the day, you are in charge of your choices and you are in charge of creating these non-negotiables, these floors, these whatever baseline elements that are going to help you. You can tap into that. Obviously, coaches can help, and we're here to guide and encourage, but I can't do it for you. Like,
Yeah.
can't do it for you.
You can't. And I think it's also really important for people to have clarity around the experience they want to have in
Right.
that season. So, for instance, for me, I'm like, I don't want like the experience I don't want. Sometimes we think about what do I want, but we don't
Mm,
think about what I don't want. I
yeah,
don't want to feel resentment around having twins. I don't want to feel anger. I don't want to feel that feeling of like fear and scarcity because this is also a little bit taboo. I'm gonna have another home birth with these
hmm,
twins, and
yeah,
when you go into birth, you want to be in the least stressful state humanly possible.
right.
I'm sure you've heard this, but there's something called sphincter's law, where when you're stressed, all your sphincters close up nice and
Yeah,
tight. And so it's like if people listening ever feel like when they travel, they get constipated, or, it's because you're quite literally your
yeah,
butthole is like, ain't nothing's coming
yeah.
out of me,
It's like 99.9% of all females and
Yeah,
like 5% males.
exactly. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's why when women labor at home, they get so
Mm,
dilated. And the second you get in the hospital, you're stressed. There's fluorescent
yeah.
lights. People are asking questions. And then you kind of regress in your progress.
Mm,
So if I want to have a specific experience in my birthing experience, in my pregnancy, in my postpartum, I have no choice but to shift my perspective now and to shift my actions now so
right.
that long term it's going to pay off. And inevitably, because of my actions and patterns and perspective now, inevitably I will have the experience that I want because I took the actions aligned with the goal and the experience that I want to have, you know?
Mm, yes. I have so much there. So being able, I love that. Being able, I think when people, obviously we're in the new year too, and you have clients that have probably just started with you in the new year, but are also continuing with you.
Yeah,
And being able to ask that question of like, that's a wonderful goal. How do you not want to experience going after this goal? And then almost aligning your patterns and behaviors with that,
yeah,
like saying, but wait a minute, this is not how I wanted to experience going after this, right? I don't want to experience turmoil or negative self-talk or like an internal battle all the time or feeling overwhelmed or like I'm not good enough. Like that's probably not typically how we want to experience going after any goal that we set.
yeah,
That's such an important question. And I would even say when you are creating your non-negotiables or your floor standards for yourself, you should probably ask that question too.
yeah,
Yeah. Like it shouldn't, if my floor standard is like drink water, I don't want to feel like I'm drowning. Like I don't want to feel like I am forceful or like I kind of want it to be enjoyable.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, I want it to be easily accessible to me. So what does that mean? Like if this is what I don't want to feel and this is what I want to feel, what then taking it even a step back, and this is probably how we should all goal set too, what does that involve? What actions does that involve? It probably involves me having access to water, period, right? Maybe having a cup, that'd be nice. Or
yeah,
having access to a water bottle that's close to me. Maybe even going a step further and setting it up in front of me and being able to really design your space and your life in accordance to upholding your floor standards and being able to navigate to your goals better too.
yeah. Make it obvious.
Right.
Anyone on here who hasn't read or listened to Atomic Habits, it's a great
Right.
book to listen to or read. Depends on how you learn. I'm a listener. I'm not much of a reader. I
Yeah.
received nothing. I'm like, I just read that sentence, but I think I read it backwards. I got to read it again.
Yes.
I just
Yes. Yes.
but one of the main things is making it obvious. And
Right.
I tell my clients this all the time. You can't heal in the same environment you got sick in. So
Mhm.
if you're going to sit here and say, I want this XYZ, but your environment is still supporting your old life, you can't really expect yourself to willpower your way through that. Like, make it obvious that you have water in
Right.
arm's reach. Make it obvious that your resistance bands are set out the night before or whatever. Make it obvious that you change your clothes into gym clothes before you leave work and chug some pre-workout and head straight to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, you have to align the vision with what you want in making it obvious, but what you don't want and removing that from your
Mhm.
environment. And I think it's very difficult for a lot of people, especially we have husbands, we have kids. And so it's like, hey guys, we've been living this certain way for however many years I've let this go on. And now, poof, now I'm going to make this big change. People don't like change,
No. Right.
uncomfortable. It's icky. And especially if you present it to someone who isn't willing to change. And so if you are watching this and you're in an environment that doesn't support your goals, don't make such a drastic night and day difference in the essential environment itself. Have the conversation. Hey guys,
Right.
this is the journey that I'm on. This is the environment I want to create. I'm going to start making these small changes and I'd love for you guys to be on board with me and slowly start to introduce it and slowly start to be the leadership role in it, because if nobody introduces it and no one ever starts it, it's never going to change, you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah, I think, I mean, we talked about this during our last call to or episode about talking about the things that are really hard to talk about and or we feel the most challenged. And I think this also coincides with something I wanted to talk to you about just tough love. But I think, holding yourself back from having that initial conversation does you no good. Like it bleeds into resentment or regret, or it completely diminishes your opportunities that you might have in front of you, or you might have like it this might be a beautiful thing once you start that conversation going, and making sure that you challenge yourself through conversation, whether it's goal setting, changes you want to make, like starting a family, how are we going to navigate this, or I'm feeling uncomfortable here, I need help in this situation. More often than not, conversations can really bring out insight, opportunity, and progress in different areas we may not have even ventured into. And I love that you are able to breach conversation. I don't know where that came from in me. Probably because I could probably go back and like my parents were horrible conversators to each other. I was teaching them. I was like, here's how we speak like adults. Like, I know I might be 10, but here's how we're going to do it. And that really benefited me because, my God, everything comes down to that. How you speak to yourself, how you speak to others. But there's like such great opportunity in just talking about it first. You don't have to just do the change. And also, you can invite other people, but being able to say, I have this idea, or I'm really interested in. I really wanted to, I know how much you care about me, or I know that we're a team here, or I know that like we're all in this together. And so I wanted to kind of bring something to the table to just talk about and get your perspective on it. It's very inviting to do those things, and it takes away ammo. It doesn't blame. It's just an invitation to conversate. We've a lot of times I'm like, what happened to this? What happened to that skill?
I think, I mean, not to blame 2020, but I think that to be honest, socialization died down a little bit during that season where everyone was a little going a little stir crazy and not
Yeah.
talking to like real humans.
Yeah.
But I think back because I've been in the industry since 2014. So I think back and I feel like the environment of having a conversation wasn't as weird prior to 2020. And now I think
Yeah.
it's just like no one has any more social skills because we all
Yeah.
went stir crazy and forgot how to talk to people and have conversations.
Right.
But I also think it's a muscle that you build. I think
Yeah.
having those conversations and being able to have those tough conversations is a practice.
Yeah.
You've been writing with your right hand your entire life and avoiding confrontation, and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And now we're smacking you in the face and say, okay, write with your left hand. It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
a practice to learn how to do it. But I'll even take it a step further. I always tell my clients, your problems aren't your problems. Your perspective on the problem is the problem. And
Hmm.
so if you actually shift your perspective on the conversation instead of, what if I hurt their feelings? What if I
Yeah.
said the wrong thing? What if this? What if that? What if you never have the conversation and things stay exactly the same? Isn't that worse?
Yeah.
Aren't you doing them more of a disservice by lying to them, beating around the bush, not
Mhm.
telling them the truth versus if you were just to sit there? And people fear, I think, bluntness and the truth because they view it as mean.
Mhm.
But I personally view it as the highest level of love. The highest
Yeah.
level of love is me sitting you down and saying, hey, dude, this is what is really effed up right now, and we need to talk about it. And I don't want it to be a me versus you. I want it to be us together versus the problem because I love you and I want to see the best for you. You
Right.
know, and me and my husband have had conversations like that where it's like, you think I wanted to bring this up to him? You think I wanted to talk to him about this? No. But
Right.
in the end, he's always telling me, thank God that you were the one that initiated this conversation. It's been weighing on me and I didn't want to say anything.
Right.
So most of the time, if you're thinking about having the conversation, or you're thinking about saying something, they're probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
They just are too feel too uncomfortable to bring it up. And
Right.
so be the person that brings it up. Be the person to stir it up a little bit, because they'll thank you. In the end, it's
Right.
uncomfortable now, but they'll thank you in the long term.
Right. Yeah. You had recently had an example of that tough love, and I resonated with it so much with a client because I've had those people would, if they heard what I had said to clients as a mindset coach, like as, you know, my job is to, yes, help people feel heard, seen, validated, and like help them navigate sticky situations. And at the same time, there's a tolerance that I feel becomes like not opportunistic. Like you can only tolerate so much where you're then negatively impacting the person that you're trying to help, right? So I've had very tough conversations where I have said, I am not surprised that you have sent in the same check-in over and over again because this is a repetitive pattern and I don't want to hear it anymore. Like I truly don't want to hear it anymore. I will always be here for you, but there has to be a change and there has to be a team effort. I can't keep giving you all this stuff if you're not going to be part of this team. I am carrying the entire team and that is not fair. Like that is not what you signed up for. Also, put on your big girl panties.
Yeah.
Like, we can do this. And I feel like there's such value in that because what I have seen in my experience is people say, wow, no one has ever spoken to me with such authenticity and directness and love and passion at the same time. Thank you. Everyone's like breezed over it or like they don't want to ruffle the feathers or like they don't want to hurt my feelings so they're not going to tell me that like drinking every night probably isn't the best thing for me to be doing. They kind of just keep it surface, which keeps you stuck. Like
Yes.
yeah. Have you seen that ever backfire?
No, to be
I
honest.
know. Yeah.
I did have one client who was mad at me for about a week, and then she
Yeah.
sat with it, and then she got over it and said, "Thank you for being hard on me." I said this the other day when I made this post. I literally aired out this client's dirty laundry. Love her. She messaged me and she was like, "I'm so glad you post that. So many people can learn from it." But I aired her ass out, and I think a lot of people need to hear that. And I said this on my post. My job, yes, is to give you the exact strategy that you
Yeah.
need for the results that you want. But more than anything, my job is to interrupt your patterns that got you stuck in the first place. And if
Right.
you don't have somebody to call you out on your old patterns and habits, most of the time, you don't even realize you're doing it. And I
Right.
have the same conversation with my husband. I say, look, if there's certain attributes, love my mom, but if there's certain attributes that I'm bringing into this relationship that I don't want to repeat, that my mother does, that I'm like, I don't want to be like this, or vice versa, that his father does, that we're not a big fan of, call me out.
Right.
Tell me. Say, dude, you're being Michelle right now, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
call me on my shit because most of the time, I don't even realize I'm doing it. I'm just going subconsciously, right? We're mostly working in the subconscious. We're
100%.
mostly working in patterns, habits, wiring, like whatever. So it's like sometimes you do shit, you don't even realize you're doing it. You need someone to yell at you. So, I mean, I'll straight up tell a client, and I did. Dude, it's the same thing. I'm not surprised you're 9 pounds up. Are you? Right? I'm not surprised that you're 9 pounds up because you're not doing the mindset work that we talked about. And so
Right.
you either shut your ego up or we get to fucking work. And the choice is yours. But if you don't make the change, I promise you, you will stay exactly the same. We will have the same check-in every single week. You will waste my time. You will
Yeah.
waste your time. So the ball's in your court. You're an adult. Again, make your own decisions.
Right.
Sometimes all they need is that permission. I'm in charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the adult. I do make
Yeah.
my own decisions,
Yeah.
and I need to get to work, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. I also feel like that is very empowering for people when
Yeah.
they feel like, and I have been able to kind of dig a little bit deeper with mindset coaching into people's past and like how they were raised and like that's my job is to keep kind of digging to realize when did this all happen and what was contributing to it and then how can we move forward. But I find that throughout their life, what tends to happen is that they've gotten a lot of passes.
Yeah.
And so that's almost to be expected, where they want change, but they don't want anybody to tell them how to do it. And they almost also like to live in the stuck place, but they
Yeah.
want to complain about it the whole entire time. They love bitching and complaining about it, but they also it doesn't, it's very foreign to them to live in any other space, right? It's the
Yeah.
same as like that anxiety cycle of like, or the busyness, right? Like, I'm always busy, I'm always busy. Well, you create your busy. So, like, maybe you just want to stay busy then? Like, and that's okay. Like, if you want to stay stuck, don't complain about it. Don't tell me about it. Don't complain about it. I feel like it empowers them. It really does do this internal shift of like this abrupt stop of like, oof, I've never been challenged by this before. And the reality of it really does suck sometimes. Like it's not supposed to
Doesn't
actually
feel
feel
good.
like a hug. Like
Yeah,
it's not,
no.
no, it's not supposed to. It's like way back when your grandpa kind of smacked you upside your head,
Yeah.
like knock it off, kid. Like that's kind of what it is. But you stopped in that moment. You were like, oh, maybe I shouldn't take this rock up against his car. Like maybe I probably shouldn't do that. I find it's very empowering and it snaps people out. But I will say that another thing to always remember too is being able to have like when a coach feels very comfortable or a partner or whatever, a friend, very comfortable to openly speak with you, it also gives the client permission to openly speak back to you, obviously in a respectful way.
Yeah.
But it kind of opens up doors a little bit more to build a stronger connection. Like you see me more than anyone else has seen me, deeper, and that is scary, but I can trust you.
Yep.
Like you still have my back, so much so that you called me out on it. And Jordan Peterson has said this before, and I really love it. I forgot what book it was, but he said, say the hard stuff before it turns into really, really big stuff. So like the little things that bother you or the little nuances that you see people doing. Call call them out on it before it snowballs into something too big that you can't really navigate it that well.
Yeah.
Um, and that is something too, you kind of saying that to your client gives them permission to also conversate with themselves and call themselves out, right? Like they're like, I actually got fired up by that. I'm gonna start doing that to myself. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And you can always preface it. People are afraid to
of
have
course.
conversations like this because they think it has to come from a place of malice or being mean or being rude or being whatever. You
Yeah.
can preface it. I tell all my clients, listen, I'm saying this to you because I know you're better than this and you know you're better than this. And I
Right.
care about you and your results so much that I would be doing you a disservice if I sat here and let you keep doing the same fucking
Yes.
thing over and over again and seeing no results. And I tell them straight up, I say, and if you keep making these patterns and habits and I don't call you out, essentially I'm stealing your money because I know you're not going to show up. I know you're not going to do it. I'm like,
Yeah.
so we either put our money where our mouth is and we show up and we get it done or we don't. And we just have the same back and forth where I say, well, not surprised. Okay, see you next week.
Right. Right.
Who does that serve? And
Right.
it's the same conversation you have with your family if you want to make a change. It doesn't have to be a me versus you. It can be
Right.
us versus the problem. And
Mhm.
people just don't know how to communicate that. And so we get this big opportunity as moms, not just to set the standard, set the boundary in the household, say here's how things are going to go, but also by you doing that, you're teaching your kids how to communicate and how
Right.
to do that in their future relationships as well. I think it's so underrated and people just let it surf by like it's not a big deal, but you don't realize that now your kids are going to take how you communicate off into the world when they're adults and
Mhm.
they're grown and they're not going to stand up for themselves. They're not going to set standards. They're not going to set boundaries. People are going to walk all over them. They're going to lack confidence and they're not going to see the results they want in their life because you chose that it was easier and more comfortable to stay quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I see that play out with my 9-year-old. My husband and I, whenever we have a disagreement, will say in front of them, can we have a conversation later? Um, Meaning, I don't want to have this in front of the kids right now, but we will be having a conversation later.
Yeah.
And my 9-year-old has said to both of us, could we have a conversation later? And I love it because what that means is that she knows there's something that's bothering her and she wants to bring it up in a very respectful way. And she wants to make sure that she's being given that space to do so. And she's sat us down and been like, listen, when you tell me to stop crying, it actually makes it worse and I'm going to keep crying. So could we think of a different way that you could help me to like settle down my tears? And we've both been like, who
Yeah.
created this child?
Yeah.
But that will benefit her long term to like know that she has a voice, know that like you can create space for yourself to speak up and you can do it in a very respectful way. Asking somebody, could we have a conversation? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Could we talk about this? I feel a certain way about this. Can we just have a conversation? Conversation is a beautiful thing. So we shouldn't, you know, steer away from them. Yeah, they can be scary, but my God, they're really good when you start having them. Like,
Yeah. And
practice that.
without being emotionally charged, because that's what
Yeah.
I was taught was when you have a I was raised in a very traditional Italian family. So there wasn't much sit, think, and calm down. It was just a lot of we have a problem,
Yeah.
we yell at each other for 20 minutes, and now we're good. Everything's good. So it's actually really hard for me, and I still have a hard time with it, but we call each other out on it where
Hmm.
if there's an issue, I want to address it right now. I want to say, hey, this is how I want things to be, or I didn't like that you said this way, or did this way. And my husband is very much so taught to be a shutter downer. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
found this balance where he says, I need a minute and I honor it and I respect it. And then, like you said, we come back later and have a conversation. It gives him the opportunity to emotionally calm down. It gives me an opportunity to emotionally come down. And now we're not acting on emotion, again, me versus you. Now we're acting on us versus the problem. And let's actually come to a resolution that makes the most sense so that both parties win. It doesn't have to be
Right.
I won this argument and you fucking lost, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a really good book called Talk. Um, I've been listening to it and just how to be able to have differencing difference of opinions and perspectives, and clearly that's like saturated in society nowadays, um, without having it be a you against me.
Yep.
And one huge thing that I've learned, and I've been practicing this for a while, so it was kind of reassuring. I was like, that education I got was really good,
Paying off.
but paying off. Okay, I'll still pay my student loans. Let's do this. But not using the word but and
Yes.
using and. So an example would be, yes, that individual should not have been there and placed himself in that position. And
Mhm.
dot, 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 right? Like be the but means but my perspective is better, right? Like I know I'm right, you're wrong. The and is like an invitation of like a complete sentence, and like we can make a whole paragraph together.
Yeah.
That has been really beneficial too with my client coach relationship as well, making sure that I'm hearing them, validating them, like understanding that there's difficulty. And I can say, and this hasn't worked out for you in the past. Why do you feel it's going to be? The but almost throws defenses up, I think,
Yes.
sometimes. And it's easy to use. It's completely easy to use the but.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we definitely can fall into it because we're like, you're wrong,
100%.
I'm right. But
100%. Even
there,
for, I would say, ourselves.
yeah,
So when clients, if they're, say we're asking them to set, their floor standards, I could even see some people say, yeah, I can set my floor standards, but,
yep,
right? It's completely different if you said, yes, I can set my floor standards, and it might be really challenging to do XYZ. That's
yep.
so different. It means that there's still opportunity for it. The but is like, I'm not really going to try.
The butt reminds me of the butt. The butt
The
reminds me
but.
of it's this or that.
Yes.
There can be two things that are true at once. Yes, you
Right.
had a hard week. Yes, you were traveling and the holidays and sickness and all the things. And here's what we can do going into this week in order to
Yeah.
make it 100% better. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
So 100%, it's making it not a this or that.
Right.
And I really feel in this season, which I'm going to talk about more because I'm just coasting into second trimester. I'm not throwing up 5 times a day anymore.
Yeah.
No, I'm feeling better. I think it's very important to highlight that just because first trimester I didn't get every single workout perfect and I didn't eat every single thing that I was supposed to eat perfectly because I couldn't stomach
Yeah.
food, whatever. That doesn't mean the rest of my pregnancy has to be the way first trimester was. That was a season, and I'm honoring that. I'm giving myself grace for it, and I get to move forward with this new season of how I'm feeling and take full advantage of that and finish out
Right.
the pregnancy strong.
Right.
And so we think it's an all or nothing, always.
Yeah.
You're wrong and I'm right, or I'm wrong and you're right, and God forbid I'm wrong one time in my life, or either I go on vacation or I take care of my health. There can be both. We get
Right.
so caught up with this or that, all or nothing, instead of there can be two things at once that coexist, and you can in fact figure it out. You just, again, your problems aren't your problems. You just had to shift your perspective on it, right?
Right. Yeah. What do you think are the top things that individuals get very challenged by that you feel, and probably myself too, just because we've done the work, like we've done, and we continue to do the work though, but you feel with upholding themselves to standards? Like, what are the challenges or obstacles that you feel are like the top ones that many, you're like, here we are again with this like challenge that we have where you and I might see it, and other people obviously as well see it as more of an opportunity.
So I see three main ones. The biggest one is motherhood.
Mm.
People using it as an excuse versus using it as a reason to non-negotiably show up. That one is huge and it absolutely rocks me to my core. And I
Yeah.
actually just made a story about this. It's going to make me people very, very, but whatever, it is
It's
what it is.
spicy. It's a spicy one.
Yeah. But we talk about like mom guilt and this and that and how, oh my gosh, I feel so guilty that I can't go work out and take 5 minutes to yourself. But when your kids are playing, you're sitting there scrolling Instagram. So are you really that guilty?
Yeah.
Or, oh my God, I feel so guilty. You just popped your kid in front of the TV instead of taking them outside to play. So you actually feel guilty? Or are we using guilt as a socially acceptable reason for you
Yeah.
not to get uncomfortable and actually show up and do the work you need to do? And so I'll even take it one step even deeper than that when people bring up mom guilt. You have a choice. You feel the guilt now, supposed guilt, right? If that's
Right.
really what it is, if you truly do feel guilty about it, you feel the guilt now of you spend an hour a time or 45 minutes to take care of yourself versus the guilt later when your kids end up exactly where you are right now. So you get to make the choice and you get to decide. So motherhood is a big one. The second one that I see is like events and traveling.
Yeah.
Traveling, well, there's a holiday or there's
Yeah.
this. And I'm like, you can make it work. You're just
Yeah.
choosing not to.
Yeah.
So what's the underlying reason why you don't want to? And I can tell you exactly what it is. Oh, it's not socially acceptable. Everyone else is drinking. Everyone else is eating like shit. Everybody else is being a human trash bag. And it's like, you don't have to do what
Right.
everybody else is doing just to fit the mold
Mhm.
with travel or with that or with holidays or whatever. You can do your own thing. You are your own individual, but people have a really hard
Right.
time with that. And then the final one that I see is death. I know it's kind of morbid,
Mhm.
but when there is, I just see it so, and I have empathy for it and I understand it, but I see it so frequently with clients. If there's a death in the family, it's an automatic shutdown. You have absolutely you completely shut down. And it's days, weeks, months
Yeah.
where they're just absolutely shut down. And I have empathy for it. And
Yeah.
also, I see a big opportunity to shift the perspective on the loss. And
Yeah.
something that really helped me a lot, my grandmother passed away. And she said before she died, this was before I had Jackson. She said, my only regret is that I didn't live long enough to see you be a mom because you would be the best mom." And I'm like, oh my God, no.
Yeah.
And so we tried really hard to get pregnant before she passed, but it just didn't work out. It wasn't in the cards. And when she passed away, I actually was on prep. So I didn't have a choice. There was no take a break. There was no shut down. I had to process it and I had to process it quick.
Yeah.
And so again, I put the headphones on. I'm sobbing. I'm crying. I'm angry. I'm processing. I'm feeling it all. And I remind myself that if my grandmother was still here, and because I'm always trying to justify switching the perspective, it's
Yeah.
hard with
Yeah.
death. If my grandmother was here and she saw me sulking and not showing up, she'd be fucking pissed. She'd
Yeah.
be pissed. And she would absolutely smack me upside the head and say, "You are alive. You need to get up and you need to get to work. So
Right.
let's get to work." And
Right.
so I carry that with me, that visualization, that feeling, that connection I had with her when she passed. And I really felt like she was the one telling me that, whether it was me justifying it or trying to shift the perspective or whatever. And now, anytime that there's a death that absolutely rocks me to my core, I feel it all. And
Mhm.
then I sit with it and I shift the perspective because that truly is a reality. You think that your family wants to see you sit there and fucking sob over them because
Right.
I want my family to do that when I die. Get up and
Right.
get to work, leave
Right.
the legacy,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah, that is, I agree with all of those. And I see that too. Death is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've read this book, but the book Comfort Crisis talks about like the happiest place on earth, and they actually celebrate death. And they celebrate, or they celebrate death, but they discuss death like it's just a natural flow of conversation. Like when I die, I'm going to do da 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 da, or like um, it isn't so morbid, I guess, or such this because we're all going to like we are all going this is going to happen, and I feel that there's you had said this, both like things can simultaneously happen at the same time. You are able to grieve and show up for yourself at the same time. It does not have to be separate. Grief doesn't have to come at the sacrifice of your own well-being, nor should it, I would say. A better way to grieve would also be to make sure that you're still tapping into those, you know, good hormones and that healthy environment, and like you're showing up for yourself in a way where you're honoring that life that just was lost, right? That I think that sometimes maybe it's just the society that we live in. Death is very scary for some people. Um, and it's different perspectives. My husband sees, unfortunately, death often in his profession. So his perspective on it, it's partly is this he's very desensitized. So he's like, it happens,
Yeah.
unfortunately, right? He has compassion, but at the same time, he was like, never will I. If you pass, I will never be like, this is where my life stops. This
Yeah.
is my, yes, there will be a moment to grieve, and that grief can last a really long time, but it doesn't mean that you have to choose either or. Like, I will grieve, and that's going to come at the sacrifice of all this other stuff of living, right? That's hard. That is a hard, I've seen that many times where I have also had to ask with your grandfather or with your, like to my clients, with your mother, or what would they want right now?
Mhm.
Would they like be like, yeah, you should probably stay in bed a little bit longer? And yes, like sadness can pour over us so intensely.
Yeah.
But what doesn't allow for it to kind of come off of us is just staying there, right? We have to have some form of like, I'm still gonna get up. I'm still gonna cry, and I'm gonna go for a walk while crying. I'm
Yeah.
holding space for this loss that I have in my life because it is devastating. And I can still hold space for me too.
One thing I see with people staying stuck in the sadness is because they have lukewarm sadness from the beginning. It's like
Yeah.
feeling of, I feel like I'm not supposed to be this sad. And so
Yeah.
they kind of little bit feel it, but not like fully engulf and feel it because feelings are fleeting. They
Yes.
come and go.
Yes.
The only reason that you're holding on to it is because you are holding on to it,
Mhm.
not because the feeling is actually
Yes.
still there. You're just still holding on to it. And so if you give yourself the permission, I mean, you're going to feel like a crazy person. Cry, scream,
Yes.
kick, go for a run, fucking sob, do
Yes.
whatever you need to do to feel it full out. It's going to feel a lot better to process, and you're less likely to stay in the sulk,
Right.
the lukewarm sadness than you are if you fully process it. But again, what is that? It's uncomfortable.
Of course it is.
People don't want to feel uncomfy or they
Mm-mm.
don't want to be embarrassed that they're acting or reacting that way. What's
Yeah.
more embarrassing is it just took you 5 years to get out of bed, right? It's like fucking scream about it, do something, kick,
Right.
scream, do all the
Yeah.
things, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
It's just not socially acceptable to act and react that way, but you have to feel the emotion, and I just think people are afraid to feel. They're afraid to feel,
Yeah.
especially in a society where we're very you need to act and look and be a certain way. And it's like, no, I mean, again, excuse my French for everyone who's a little PG on here, but fuck that. I
Yeah,
don't care. I don't really care what anybody says I'm supposed to do because the reality is that if I'm doing what you think I'm supposed to be doing or acting the way you think I'm supposed to be acting, am I really living for myself or am I living for you? Because that's not the way I want to live my life,
right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
lukewarm. Lukewarm sadness will keep you sad for a lot longer than if you
Yeah. You'll
dumped
be
it all out.
stuck in the mud, and that's not a good place to be in. And
Yeah.
feelings, emotions, and we have a plethora of them, like
Oh
not
yeah.
just sadness, anger, happiness, like there's a lot of them in there. All they want inside our body is to be seen, heard, recognized. That is it, permission to exist. And then they kind of go away. Like, not fully. They might resonate a little bit, or they might come back and say hello. But they really, I always tell my clients, like, I need you to think of it like your life is always going to be in front of a stream. And when emotions come, you can drop that leaf of emotion right into that stream and you see it and you recognize it and you hold it and you have it and you drop it and it's just going to float away. And it might come back. You might be like, I don't remember that one, but it doesn't stay with you all the time. I definitely have seen people stay stuck and I've been like, listen, you are in the mud. I have a really good shower over here. If you
Yeah.
want to wash yourself off, come on over. Like,
Yeah.
get the mud off of you. Don't say stay stuck in the mud. Just get out of it. Um, yeah, and events, holidays, that mom guilt and like parenthood is such a tough one. Obvious, because I completely understand it, and at the same time, recognizing that it does us no good. So any thought or feeling that we have, I always think, what am I benefiting from this? Like, is me feeling guilty in this moment really benefiting? Like, are my serotonin levels going up and like my shoulders are growing and no, like nothing good is coming from that. So I can also just recognize it, see it. I can talk about it and say, it is, I'm feeling a certain way about being a parent and upholding, standards of my own for my health. This is becoming very difficult for me, and I think I might need a little bit more help with it, right? That's okay. You're not alone. A lot of people feel that. But being able to not let it be the demise of you and just say, well, I'm now a parent.
Yeah.
So this is what happens. Well, no, it doesn't. That's not how that works. And it shouldn't work like that. Like it should be, this is a parent and I'm going to set my expectations a little bit higher of myself because I now have a little human that's looking at me all the time.
For sure. And you're going to have to put your ego down and ask for help. Again,
100%.
I was raised in a very traditional Italian family. You know, the women did the women things and they didn't ask for help for them, and the
Yeah,
man did the man things and they didn't ask for help for them. And that's how it goes. We're in a very different day and age. And so I understand some women raised in a certain environment, but it's like your mother also stayed at home and didn't work. You're working and taking care of
yeah,
kids all at once. You think I'm not going to need help with twins and a toddler? Like I
right.
have already set the standard with my husband. Here's how it's going to go. I'm just letting you know before these babies are even born. You are full Jackson duty. You are toddler duty. Nothing that has anything to do with Jackson when these twins are born are my responsibility at all anymore. And if I get to it and I can give you a helping hand, perfect. But if not, expect nothing from me. You know what I mean? It's like expect nothing. And I even told him, I said, look, because of that, I'm going to have to take 1 or 2 days a week of specific Jackson and mom one-on-one time. And you're going to have to take the
Yeah,
twins. And so, did I want to have that conversation with my husband? No, it was uncomfortable. And I had to sit down and set the standard. But people have these made up, here's what I expect from my husband, but they don't say it. And then when their husband doesn't follow suit with what they want them to do, but the conversation was never had, they're mad, they're resentful, like you said
right,
earlier, but you never had the conversation. You never discussed it. And
right.
so really you're mad at yourself. You just enabled the pattern. You
Yeah,
enabled the behavior and you're wondering why you're pissed at your husband, but you should be mad at yourself because you never had the conversation.
Yeah, those unsaid, unspoken expectations that we place on our partners, or I would even say, I mean, this could flow into unspoken expectations that you put on yourself or
Yeah,
your coach or your
yeah,
partner or anyone really. Um, and then you get pissed, but you never said a damn word.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. Oh my gosh, I was gonna say something and I completely this is called brain fog slash perimenopause slash mom mom
Exactly.
brain. But I was going to say something about expectation. Oh, something I say to clients often whenever they're complaining about something or they're telling me about a situation um, that is disheartening, absolutely like valid. We can get frustrated at so many things, right? And I will often say, and how is that working out for you?
Yep,
And they hate that question because clearly not so great,
yep.
right? And how can we, all right, so it's not working out for you that great. What needs to happen to have it to have that answer be like actually it's working out fantastic, like what do we need to change, what small changes can we make to bring you to say to me everything is working out really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and it does come down to a lot of the conversation that we've had really comes down to like ownership, ownership of everything, right? Like I love me a Jocko Willink and I love me like extreme ownership. That's like right up there. My daughter's actually reading Jocko's second book and we're talking about, well, I'm not talking about it. Jocko wrote it, but my daughter's reading it. And right now in the book, they're talking about discipline equals freedom.
Mhm.
And I was loving it because she was talking about all of this amazing stuff that this kid was doing, and Uncle Jake was, just like saying you should probably go clean your bike or you should probably go make your bed or you should probably get your workout done in the morning, and the kid actually did it because he was like, I'm just going to get after it, and he was disciplined about it and he did it, and then Uncle Jake said, how do you feel? And the kid was like, really good. He was like, yeah, dude, discipline equals freedom. I was like, Ravenna, anything you have to say? You gonna make your bed tomorrow morning? Like,
Ah,
yeah,
no, it feels good to know that you're in charge, and you are. And people don't realize that they are in charge of their destiny, of
yeah,
what they do and the actions that they take. And it's two main things that it comes down to is one, personal responsibility, and two, having communication. Literally just have the conversation, communicate the
yeah,
standards, the boundaries. But again, it does start with you. I mean, it starts with how you're going to uphold the standard in your family, because you can't go to your family and say, hey guys, this is what we're going to do, but you're not doing it yourself. They're not going to
right,
take you seriously, and they're going to say, whatever, mom. Yeah,
yeah,
we're not doing, no one's going to listen to you. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't listen to you either. I don't trust anything that you say. You don't even trust anything that you
right,
say.
right,
Yeah,
yes,
discipline and
yeah,
personal responsibility. Those are the two biggest things. And that's something I really pride myself on. And my husband talks about all the time. He's like, what I love about you is that when you say you're going to do something, you do it
yeah,
every time. Like you can stop. Back when we were bartenders and we drank every night back circa 2013, 14, I was drinking every single day just to drink. It was
yeah,
the environment. And it took me some time to get out of the pattern and habit. And now, and for the past 6, 7, 8 years, I can have one glass of wine and move on. You
yeah,
or I can, go out with the girls and have two margaritas and be done. Like I
yeah,
get to choose. And most people can't do that because they haven't practiced discipline enough. They
yeah,
haven't practiced the ability to say no enough or to stick to their standards enough. And people think you just snap your fingers and poof, your problems are solved and you just all of a sudden act like this. It's a practice.
you have to
It's like
flex it,
muscle.
yeah,
Yeah, you got to practice it. And so what I don't like, and then we'll start to wrap it up here because I do have some client calls
Yeah.
coming up. But what I don't like is when people say, "Oh, well, I just could never do that. And so I just had to get rid of all the candy and chocolate, and I can't go anywhere or do anything when I'm on a diet because I just can't control myself." You're actually setting yourself up for more failure
Right.
because you're not giving yourself an opportunity to practice in those situations. You're
Hmm.
never going to have a perfect environment. So you might as well practice not being in the perfect environment all the time so
Yeah.
that you can have longevity in this.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
No, I completely agree. And when people say I can't, I always come back with like, maybe not yet,
Yeah,
but pretty sure you can. And like you're choosing that I can't.
not to.
Yeah. I love conversations with you and I find such great value. I think it is important. Obviously, I'd love to have you on again, but for
I'm
for
here.
for our listeners to also probably hear some of our own,
Yeah,
we didn't just magically appear at the state that we're in when we hold ourselves accountable and we have created these patterns and habits that we can kind of lean into. The toolbox wasn't just there for us, we kind of made it for ourselves. And we've gone through some challenges and struggles of our own too in order to build this up so that we can speak on it
yeah.
and practice it and participate in that extreme ownership and, in the good conversations, in setting the standards. It didn't just come out of the blue for us.
Yeah, and I mean, even now, I think it's important to highlight that I'm still not perfect.
Same.
It's
Oh
like
God, same.
we're never perfect. We will never come on here, and I can definitely speak for you on this because I know you feel the same way. We will never come on here and act like we are holier than thou,
Yeah.
and like better. No, we make mistakes. We mess up. We sometimes have our little pity party.
Yes.
I just said when I found out I was having twins, I think I cried for 2 weeks straight, and I felt it all for 2 weeks straight. But it's like it's not about being perfect. It's not about being bulletproof. It's not about, never making a mistake or never taking a day off or whatever. It's about when inevitably life beats the living crap out of you, what are you going to do about it? Are
Right.
you going to let it overtake your life? Or are you going to sit with it and go, that was effed up. Now, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to move on or am I going to let it destroy me?
Right.
And that's all it is. You roll with the punches, you learn how to deal with life's many random things that it'll throw at you, and
Yes.
then just move with it. You know,
Yeah.
you either let it screw you up or you let it push you forward and be your motivation to do better and be better. And that's it.
100%. Yeah. I agree with all of it. The art of pivoting, bending and weaving. Yes.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I know myself, the listeners are so excited to see how everything kind of unfolds too with your
Me too.
pregnancy of two. Same. I know you're same. You can't wait to see what happens too. But I can't wait to just continue conversations with you because again, you have such great knowledge, experience, and perspective. So thank you so much for everything that you
Absolutely.
do.
Absolutely loved being here. If I didn't offend the listeners, I was a little PG-13 this time. I get a little aggressive. These
That was perfect.
the
I'm pretty sure
pregnancy
I had
hormones.
more swear words than you this time. So
Yeah, the pregnancy hormones getting to me a little bit, but if they will have me and I didn't offend them too much, I'll be here anytime you guys need me.
awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys, and we will talk to you soon.
See ya.